Today we have a subscriber question on maximize conversions versus maximize conversion value. Let's go ahead and dive in. I can't understand the difference between maximize conversions with TCPA and conversion value if we set up the TCPA and conversion. The only difference that conversion value will try to bring us are people who are going to make conversions which are much more expansive conversions. Yes, because maximize conversion value optimizes to higher end buyers who are going to spend we're going to buy the higher priced items. So you're absolutely right. Versus maximize conversions, which is when you're just left with purchase, it's the most conversions for the dollar, which is usually the cheapest. Maximize conversions with TCPA will try and give us any of the primary conversions, just like I just said. So let's talk about the roles and the pluses and minuses for each buying objective. So with conversions, you have the primary and secondary, and with those switches, you have the subsequent event fires. Now, max conversions lives in two different universes. It lives in the world of warming up a campaign, but also leaving it on for purchases or submit lead forms to a TCPA campaign. So in this circumstance, you have submit lead form, ATC, IC, or purchase. When you have an e-commerce client and you use maximize conversions, you're gonna set up the primary for all those event fires, which is ATC. And that's the first level of hand raising for a consumer, because once they come in, the first indicative event of a consumer is add to cart. You know for a fact that's not a bot or spam. It could be window shopping, yeah, but that's fine. We all window shop. That's a cool thing about ATC. You definitely know it's not a robot. You're going to set up 30 conversions over 30 days for all four events, starting with the ATC. Once it reaches 30 conversions over 30 days, you downgrade it to a secondary conversion. Same thing with IC, which is initiate checkout payment method. Once it reaches that 30 over 30 days, switch it to secondary, so that all that you're left with is purchases. And at that point, once it's 30 for 30, it's a fully learned campaign. What's the next step after maximize conversions? What I like to do is look at the situation. If there's limited product differentiation, say it's an account that has a difference in the price goals of 100 and 150. Well, that's not really much. So therefore, I would just leave it on really at that point, and then just have it push as many conversions as possible to get those purchases in. What if it's a store that's between, say, $50 and $800. When you use maximize conversions and you leave it on in that kind of situation, it's going to optimize to many conversions for the dollar. What does that mean? It's probably going to optimize to the lowest, because those move the cheapest products just move the easiest. Therefore, it's going to move towards the lower end of the product spectrum versus the higher price product. So at that point, it's been learned, like I was talking about, and you want to move it to a conversion value or a TROAS campaign, which leads me to the next slide. So at this point, you've just been fully learned and you're switching it to a conversion value campaign. And at that point, it's optimizing, like I said, it'll go for the lower stuff, but it's going to try and hold out and learn as much as possible to go to the higher end max conversion value products. So it's going to actually shoot for the $500, $600, $700, $800 price points for those consumers versus the lower end consumers. And it's going to try and score you big wins. Now, if you set it for max conversion value, it should do fine. I am a big fan of TROAS, and I am for a couple of reasons. The first is, after it's been learned under maximize conversions, it's ready to go. Like that means that campaign is fully learned. So if you have a wide variety, a wide spectrum, I would just push it to TROAS, because with TROAS, it optimizes to all three levels. It'll always say when the higher buyers are not around, the higher end buyers who spend on the higher end products are not around, it'll optimize to the lowest ones. But the signal is it'll optimize to the middle and upper when the auctions are good. When the auctions are good for those consumers and they're spending and the product's moving, it'll open the gate and move it into the higher price consumers, the consumers that spend a lot more for the higher priced items. That's the beauty of TROAS, and it'll move all between there. Conversion value, like I said, I would not learn on that, right? Max conversions is where you learn. Don't do it on max conversion value. No, this is after it's learned on max conversions. So when that happens, you want to do max conversion value. That's when you just want to push the higher price items solely, just solely. So Will it sometimes optimize to the lower ones and get those wins? Yeah, it will, but it's always hold out for the higher priced items. So it's a little bit of a gray area. And it's definitely dependent on your client goals. Conversions is maximize purchases, but with easy purchases. And it's also, like I said, a great learning tool for your campaigns. Maximize conversion value equals high quality customers. But of course, your TCPA will be all over the place. So, and the one thing I want to talk about here is we're talking about max conversions, max conversion value. You also have the TCPA conversion campaign. So when you set up conversions, you have which is different from max conversions, you have the option of a TCPA as well. So when you're looking at the CPA of a max conversions, it'll optimize accordingly. But when you set up a TCPA, the targeted cost per acquisition, that's when you're just working like, hey, I just want to spend this much for that conversion, which is different from this. So I want to make sure that was very clear. If you have any questions, feel free to call me, 213-700-8812. Yes, I'm giving away my phone number. Feel free to call me. And then feel free to look at my podcast. We just cleared our 105th episode. I just crossed 140 users on my WhatsApp group. I'm so proud of that. On our way to 200 people. I am so proud of that. They're just not people who come in. I really make sure that they understand that they're not solicit business and that they're there to learn. So that's what I love about it. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, please feel to submit and I'll gladly answer. Thank you.